You're listening to Just Hit Play with your hosts, Peter and Nick Cabral. If you're tired of your stagnant, streamed music feed, then strap yourselves in for an intergenerational sonic journey through Peter and Nick's favorite songs.
Welcome to episode 137 of Just Hit Play. I'm your host, Peter. With me is my co-host, Nick. Nick, we didn't record last week. I was way too busy. I was working nutty hours. How are you? How's everything going?
I'm good. I'm really doing really well, but I've also been crazy busy. Yeah. I went camping this past weekend with a group of friends. About 9 of us went camping.
Nice.
So that was a blast. I don't get to see these guys often. We're kind of all spread out around Southern Ontario, so it's really nice to have a weekend just ourselves, no distractions, to hang out in the wilderness. That was a really, really fun time. And then I just had my last day of the summer semester today, so I've got a bit of a break now.
Nice. And where did you go camping?
I went to, it was a campsite called Grundy Lake. It's I'd say an hour south of Sudbury.
Oh, okay. So far.
Quite far. Yeah, it was awesome. It was a great drive there and back. The way the rides ended up working, I was driving by myself there and back, and I listened to so much music,
nice.
Only albums straight through, and only ones I hadn't heard before. So it was a good time.
Nice. Cool. That's good. And Toronto was flooded out. Are you okay in all the rain? Yeah,
like where I live, bit west, like there were no issues. I was downtown the day of the flooding, and I didn't really see anything. It was really just that one highway, the DVP, that got a bit flooded, and Union Station had some water, but other than that, it was fine.
You know, when someone tells me global warming isn't a thing, I've never, in my 50 years, I do not remember Toronto ever flooding, and there are wildfires in Newfoundland. So, put those two together.
Yeah, things are changing for sure. There's every year there's something that happens that's like, this hasn't happened before, or this hasn't happened in a very long time.
Yeah.
And it's a bit concerning, but what can you do?
Yeah, just a little bit. Before we start too, I wanted to say to our audience, in the show notes, if you click on wherever you're listening to us, if you actually click on the show notes, there's a new button there that's been added. It's send us a text. So you can send a text to us or a message to us right from the note or right from the show notes, and tell us if you like the song, what song I should get Nick to listen to, or what song Nick should get me to listen to next. So yeah, please interact. I've tested it. It works. So click on send us a text and send us a message telling us where you're listening from and your thoughts. And are we full of shit? Are our take on music wrong? Please send us a message. We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, let us know.
Yeah. You're going first this week, so tell us about your song.
This week, I got you to listen to the song Final Church by Childish Gambino, or Donald Glover, as he's also known.
Yep.
This song was... this song has a bit of a complicated history, as does the album it's from, but we'll get into that after the jump.
Great. Yeah.
I'm a big Childish Gambino fan, and I think this is him at his best. So Darren, why don't you just hit play on Final Church? Alrighty, so Childish Gambino, Donald Glover. I love him. I think you like him too.
I do.
And did this song please you? Did it live up to the expectations you have for him?
You know, I love this song, and it really shouldn't work because, like, there's blues in there, there's 90s R&B, there's a little bit of punk rock. Like, those don't sound like they should work in a song. Especially in the 90s R&B. I wasn't expecting it to have a little bit of 90s R&B, but the song was brilliant. I love the melody. There's a bit of anger in the song. Yeah, there's nothing bad to say about the song. I loved it.
I couldn't agree more, and I think you really nailed the different genres and influences that meld together on this song. This track is really chaotic. I think there's a lot happening.
Yeah.
And I think in the hands of a less talented artist, this could have been a very bad song.
Yeah, I think with Donald Glover, the first time I got to know Donald Glover was on a show called Community, where he played a comedic sort of fool, his character. And I never would have seen this artist coming out of that. It's quite a surprise how different he is from that character. Obviously, he's an actor and he can play different characters. But I didn't know there was this talent there to make music like this. When was the first time you saw Danny Glover? Or Donald Glover, sorry. Danny Glover is someone very different.
Very different.
Yeah.
Like when I first started listening to his music.
Really? So you didn't know him from the TV show?
Oh, sorry. Like when I first became familiar with him as a person.
Yeah.
I'm honestly not sure what came first. If it was him as an actor or him as an artist. It was very much around the same time. I think. I think I was watching Community, and somehow I think one of my friends said, by the way, like Troy from Community, like he's a rapper. Yeah. And so I went on YouTube and like I saw a couple of the early songs he had out, and I became a fan. And from there, I've really been able to follow all aspects of his career as they've blossomed. Gone from just the very beginnings to where he is now, which unequivocally, like he's a star in multiple realms. He wears many hats and wears them all well.
Yeah, there's a great blooper from Community where Alison Brie, who was an actress on Community, is doing a bit of a rap, and Donald Glover sort of goes, "That's not what rap sounds like." And at the time, he didn't have a rap career when he said that comment. But she even said, looking back on it, I was like, yeah, he knew what he was talking about, because it was Childish Gambino who was sort of chiding her and telling her that's not how you rhyme. She was doing sort of a comical sort of a rap. That was kind of funny because it was in his locker, but he hadn't released anything yet, so no one knew what he was about to become and the superstar he was about to become too.
Well, that's actually a really good segue, because I just finished watching the Hot Ones episode that he did just this week. I think it came out yesterday. He was on Hot Ones.
I haven't seen that yet.
And in the interview, he gets asked about sort of the dichotomy between how comedians are usually like, a self-flagellating, they make fun of themselves. They're sort of the gesture type persona, whereas rappers stereotypically are more of the braggadocious, loud, out there, and self-confident. And he asked Childish Gambino how he sort of came to terms with that, starting as a comedian, pivoting into rap, doing both at the same time. And his answer was he did struggle with that, and that's why he created the character of Childish Gambino. He sees Childish Gambino as fully just himself playing a character who makes music and goes on stage and performs.
Right. And obviously his big song was This Is America, which is an amazing song. That sort of put him on the map and got him to cross over from, obviously heralded like hip hop artist, but to, he crossed over to the mainstream with that song.
That and Redbone from Awaken My Love.
Right.
Yeah. Those were two really big hits he had. I think that definitely turned him into that household name.
And even his videos, like the video for this song is just a plain white background. It's just a white video, which is fine. But This Is America is an amazing video. It's so much going on, and it's such a comment on American society. And him being an actor, he's so comfortable in front of the camera, and he does a really good job in music videos.
Speaking of videos, he actually has a new album out tomorrow. It's called Bando Stone in the New World. Yeah. And it's a companion piece to a short film that he wrote, directed, and is starring in. I'm not entirely sure when the short film is dropping.
Right.
I don't think it'll be too far behind the album.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you said, the guy is very comfortable in front of a camera. He likes exploring both the audio and the visual side
Mm-hmm.
of these things. And I think that's something that makes him really unique. His first big album, Because of the Internet, it was actually, it had a script that went along with it. He released a movie script
Okay.
with the album, and you were supposed to press
Nice.
play on the album
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
you started reading the script, and it would like sync up and stuff. So he's always doing
That's
cool stuff like that.
no, that's pretty cool. Yeah. Um, if I'm not mistaken, I've heard he got the name Childish Gambino from a rap name generator on the internet. Do you know if that's true?
I've also heard that story. Yeah, I think that's true. I have no reason to believe that that's not true. We'll say
Right.
that.
Yeah, that'd be a good way to get your name. Just if you're a famous hip hop artist, just to get it off I think it was a Wu-Tang Clan.
Yes,
Rap
well, yeah, it
generator.
was a Wu-Tang rap name generator, which is hilarious.
Yeah, yeah. I should also state at the moment that my dog is drinking very loudly from a water bowl right behind me, so that is not me making that noise. If you can hear it, that is my dog who, yeah, she's lapping up her water right now. So sorry about that.
Yeah, she's just thirsty. Nothing wrong with that.
She's a thirsty lad, or a thirsty girl, I should say. Yeah.
So I hinted at this a bit in the intro, but the album that this song comes from is now known as Ada Vista, but it was originally released under the name 31520. Do you know anything about this? Have
Nope.
you heard any?
I have
Okay,
not.
perfect. So he hadn't released any music for quite a while. He had Awaken My Love in 2017. This is America 2018. It came out.
Yeah.
But then sort of off the map for a while. And then March 15, 2020, a website went live called Donald Glover Presents.
Oh.
And it was just, you press play on a play button on the website and 15 songs looped. And 12 hours later, the website got taken down.
Wow.
And an album went up on Apple Music, like all streaming, titled 3.15.20, the release date, all white album cover, and none of the songs actually had names. They were just the timestamp of when in the album the song started.
Interesting.
Very interesting rollout, release method, I think we could say. And I think it's very strange listening to a song and your friend asking you, "Oh, what song is this?" And you say, "Oh, let me pull out my phone. It's 2419."
Right. Yeah, that's cool.
Very strange. Like, and I honestly, it's definitely interesting. It's definitely creative and different. I personally, I wasn't a fan of the packaging, we could say.
Yeah.
I couldn't keep straight like which song was what, and I found it was really good to listen to all the way through as one package, which is probably how he intended.
Right.
But outside of that, it didn't really work. And it's also very memorable because that was basically right at the start of the COVID pandemic that happened. Like, I think that was the same day the NBA got canceled or maybe a day later.
Yeah.
And so when he was asked about it a couple years later, like, why the hell did you do that? He said he had just lost his father. He had just had a kid. He was going through a lot of things at the time. He was having a lot of different new experiences, and he felt he was in sort of this like punk attitude where he just wanted to do something just different without really thinking about the effect it would have on its reception.
Sure.
And that's what he landed on. He was going to drop it. No fanfare, no titles, no album cover. And I think, and he even expressed it in that statement, like a bit of regret. He wished he did it a bit differently. And that's why just earlier this year, I think it was May or June, he fully re-released the album, track names, proper title, still no album art, but he basically remastered all the songs, added new production, added some new songs, and now we have an actual fully complete album package 4 years later.
Isn't that the great thing about how modern music is made? There's a lot of things I don't like about modern music, but that would be the one, is the versatility you have in releasing material and how different ways you can release material to, whether it's, complete digital download. You can do vinyl. You can do CD. Like there's so many different ways to release material now. It's pretty cool.
And that lends itself to the album being like a living, breathing thing that can evolve and change over time. It doesn't have to be static anymore.
The one thing I don't like about modern music is the way it's mixed now, where there's the dynamic range is a little bit lost, where there's no highs and lows like there used to be. I think that's just the way that music is listened to now, where it's pretty much on the same level, because you don't want your song to appear not to be as loud. So even the quiet parts are a little bit loud, and I think that's more evident in rock and roll, more probably than other genres, where it has to be loud for whatever reason. That's the one thing I don't like about modern music, the way it's mixed now.
I think we can blame Rick Rubin for that, if I'm not mistaken. Wasn't he like the noise battle guy?
Yeah, even the Chili Peppers, and I don't like the Chili Peppers. I think they're a horrible band. But even in their last record, it was mixed so loud that even in the quiet parts were just way too loud, and it's lost all the dynamic range. So it's really disappointing how modern music has evolved in that sense.
Yeah, I agree with that. As I said, when I was driving to up north this past weekend, I listened to a lot of music, and all of it was older. I think the most recent album I listened to was Songs for the Deaf by Queens of the Stone Age, which, by the way, have you heard that album?
I love Queens of the Stone Age, yeah.
Unreal album.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was listening to Born to Run, Bruce Springsteen, a couple Talking Heads albums, Sonic Youth, and yeah, the difference in mixing from now and then is insane.
Yeah, exactly right. And a lot of that is to do with MP3s. MP3s obviously are a compressed music format, and so there's just not as much information as you would have on a vinyl or CD, where you can have so much more information. It really comes down to information. That's what it is. MP3s are such compressed things that it really the musical loss is self-evident.
Yeah, agreed. And yeah, circling back to Final Church, I do just want to emphasize like how experimental and creative this song is, and it may not seem like it, but because of how good it is, but it really is. Like, he's trying things and really going for it, swinging for the fences. Even in some of the things he does with his vocals, like are just really interesting, and that's one thing I love about Donald Glover is he is a very brave artist in everything he does. Atlanta is very boundary pushing. His music is absolutely redefining genres all the time, and I really hope the album he drops tonight in a couple hours will be the same story.
Yeah, like I mentioned earlier, this song shouldn't work. Like, there's so much, blues, R&B, punk rock. There's so many different influences, yet it works perfectly. It's a great, great song.
Yeah, I read a review for this album as a whole, the original version of it, 31520, that said that there were a lot of songs that felt like a collision between Outkast, David Bowie, Sly and the Family Stone, and Prince. I think this song
that's pretty good.
Fits that criteria of that combination.
Yeah, like I said, that was my take of all the different influences. So yeah, it's I guess that's pretty obvious if a lot of other people have said the same thing. So that's cool. Yeah.
Or that means that you're good enough to be a music critic. You got a good enough ear to do what they do.
Right. Well, that's kind of what we're doing here, isn't it? We're sort of critiquing music as we go.
I guess so. Yeah. I think after 137 episodes, like, we probably could write for a publication if we felt like it.
Yeah, that's right. We should do a podcast.
We should. Hey, Pitchfork, if you're listening.
Yeah, we'll do a podcast. We'll do a music podcast for you guys.
Yeah. No, I'm really glad you like this song. It's like I said, I think it's him at his best. I really do. Yeah. And if this is the kind of energy he's on, I hope he sustained it for his new album, Bando Stone, like that's coming out. I'm really excited for that. Cool. And I'm also really excited to be seeing him live in August. I'm going to his concert. So I've never seen him before, but I have a feeling it's going to be an incredible show. He's a hell of a performer.
Yeah. Do you know what I just thought of? About 20 years ago, 15 years ago, This is who I thought Mos Def was going to be until he went off the rails
Yeah.
a little bit. Who was an actor and a musician, and this is who I thought Mos Def was destined to be in it, and he never was this. He sort of took a step back. He went a little nuts, and I shouldn't say nuts. I think he had a bit of a mental health episode, and he took a step back. But this is exactly who I thought Mos Def would be.
I think Mos Def as well, just from a personality viewpoint. I think he's just a little bit too cerebral and conscious to really achieve the same levels of stardom. I think it can be hard to merge those two sides of you.
Yeah, I agree. That his name just came to mind when talking about Donald Glover. And my apologies for referencing Danny Glover. Danny Glover is a very different person, but everyone thought Danny Glover was his father. So there's no relation as far as I can remember.
No relation at all.
Yeah. Danny Glover is also a very good actor, by the way. He was in Lethal Weapons, which are great movies.
Never seen them.
You should. They're pretty good. They're ridiculous. Okay. Very much of its era. But yeah, they're pretty fun movies.
Okay. Good to know. Yeah. Good to know.
All right. Are you ready to get into some Aretha Franklin?
I am. Let's get into some Aretha Franklin.
So over the last few weeks, I've been getting you to listen to soul music, early R&B music. And we listened to Aretha Franklin's Respect a couple of weeks ago, which, we both loved. But I said early on that I didn't think that was her best song. My favorite song by Aretha Franklin was I Never Loved a Man the Way I Love You. So that was the song I got you to listen to this week. So Darren, just hit play on Aretha Franklin, I Never Loved a Man the Way I Love You. All right, Nick, was I right? Was I wrong? Is this a better song than Respect? What did you think?
It's so hard to say. It's almost too close to call, and I'm almost scared of like putting one song over the other. Like I don't think anyone's going to send me hate mail or anything, but it feels like it'd be controversial no matter what I say. So I'm just going to stay out of making any summary judgments and say.
Okay.
This is a fantastic song from a fantastic artist on an incredible album. I did end up listening to the whole album. It's great. It's great.
Well, this album is considered one of the greatest albums of all time, as we talked about last week. But as I did research, this was it got mixed reviews from the critics at the time of its release.
No way. Mixed reviews.
Yeah. So I'm going to read you a review from 1967 from Rolling Stone, who said the album lacked versatility. On part of the sidemen, the drums weren't hard enough, the guitar was weak, and the production lacked polish. Now, this is the same magazine that said that Respect is the greatest song ever written. So, I guess critics can change their mind, and songs really have a lifespan where they can change people's identity or people's ideas of what a good song is. I don't know. Maybe selling 75 million records helped in making it get better reviews. I don't know. It's weird.
That is weird. It's really weird because I would see it if the song or the album even like weren't so massively huge commercially, but the fact that it was so massively huge commercially tells me like there has to be something good to it. It's not always the case, but I find it hard to believe that they couldn't find anything of value at the time when clearly a lot of people did. As I've said, I've listened to this album a few times now in full, and it's good top to bottom. I was worried that this being a relatively new genre to me, I was worried about how I'd find listening to like an hour of the same sort of music, but there was enough variety and diversity on the track list where I'm engaged the entire time. And I think this is excellent walking music. I've listened to it on my walk to school, which is just perfect. Really uplifting, like positive, affirming, just feel good music. And I guess that's what soul music is, right?
What else I love about this song is her vocal performance is really an understated performance in a lot of ways. She does really push the boundaries of her singing as the song goes on, but it's very breathy and very understated. And I love how during different elements, you can hear the bass clearly. The bass has its moment. The guitar has its moments. The horns have their moment. And going back to the Rolling Stone, in 2020, they said this is the 13th greatest album ever made. So they've moved on from their 1967 review and said it's, top 20 greatest albums ever made.
I haven't listened to all the albums ever made, not even a fraction of them, to be honest. I've listened to a lot, but there's a lot of albums. I think it's definitely up there. This is super up there for me.
Yeah.
I could never dream of making an album ranking. That's just not something that I'm capable of. Of committing to a ranking like that. But it's a fantastic album. I love listening to it, and I will
Aretha's
be returning to it many times. And this song is definitely a highlight on it. Like I said, I don't know which is the best, but this song is for sure a highlight on the album.
Well, I'm going to say two more things, and we talked a lot about Aretha on the last episode, so please go to episode 136 if you want to hear more about Aretha's life. I just want to say a couple more things. She dropped out of school in grade 2, so that's crazy on itself to leave school at such a young age. But in 2014, Billboard named her the greatest R&B artist of all time. Sorry, in 2015, she was named the Billboard's greatest female singer of all time. R&B singer of all time. And in 2014, there was an asteroid named after her. So asteroid 249516 is named Aretha in honor of Aretha Franklin in 2014. So that's cool.
That's the highest honor, isn't it? Like getting an asteroid named after you.
That's pretty cool.
It's got to be. You don't get better than that.
Yeah, exactly. Now we talked off air about our songs for next week. And what I propose to you is that we just do one song next week, because the song I'm going to get you to listen to is by Billie Holiday, and it's called Strange Fruit. I personally think it's probably the most important song that's ever been laid down in a recording. It goes right to the civil rights movement. And I want to say something about Aretha Franklin and the civil rights. The quote that I love from Aretha Franklin is, I know you got to disturb the peace when you can't get no peace, which I think sums up the civil rights movement perfectly. She refused to play Donald Trump's inauguration in 2017. She passed away in 2018. She was a big supporter of Indigenous people's struggles worldwide and supported First Nation cultural rights. So I think that ties in perfectly with the song we're going to listen to next week, Strange Fruit by Billie Holiday.
Well, by all accounts, then, she sounds like a lovely lady, truly. And we're very lucky to have the work that she left behind for us.
Yeah.
Obviously, I feel that way about every artist that passes away. But you're right. It does feel, maybe it's the time period. Maybe it's her work and activism as a person. But even as someone who's very, very recently come to her music and become aware truly of what her legacy is, I still get this sense, this aura of great importance to Aretha Franklin.
Yeah, and America is going through a very weird time right now where there's assassination attempt against a former president. Roe versus Wade got overturned and became a state issue. There's I don't think America's seen this amount of strife probably since the 60s, and we're going to talk about that next week. I think it's important that we can look back at the past and try to figure out what led up to it and what's going on at the moment. So we're going to try to tackle that next week as we go. We're going to do a poor job, because how can you do a good job in trying to figure out what's happening in the world right now? We'll give it a shot.
Well, we do know, each of us know one thing really well, and I think that's music. So maybe we can at least attempt to have a conversation about that
Yeah.
time period, the events that went on under the context and guidance of the music.
Yeah.
That's something I think we can do at least.
Yeah. Perfectly stated. The music will guide us along the way.
Yeah, absolutely it will.
Cool. Well, yep. So Billie Holiday, Strange Fruit, that's the song we're going to listen to next week. A track, if my memory serves, was released in I want to say 1947. So it's probably it is the oldest track I've ever gotten you to listen to. So yeah, it's going to be interesting on, how you find that music released so long ago. So I'm curious.
Well, interestingly enough, my third favorite song of all time by Kanye West very, very prominently features a sample of the song Strange Fruit. So I am already sort of familiar with it in a roundabout way, I guess. Yep. Yeah, I'm excited to listen to the whole thing, though. I've only ever heard the bit that was sampled, so it'll be cool to get it full package.
Let's do it. It's a heavy song, but like I said, an important song.
Cool. And maybe sometime down the road we'll listen to the Kanye song "Blood on the Leaves." Yeah. It's really good.
Let's do it. Yeah. Which is that's funny you say that, because that's a line from the song, like that is said on the song. Yeah.
Yeah, that's part of the sample.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Yeah. So yep. Strange Fruit next week. I was hesitant in bringing this song up because it's such a heavy song, and I was a little afraid of doing a poor job in going through it, but we're gonna go for it. And we're gonna do it, and we'll try to do the best job that we can.
Let's give it a go. That's all we can do.
All right, let's talk about this week in music history. So this happened in July 21st, 1987. Guns N' Roses released their first album on Geffen Records, and it was Appetite for Destruction, which featured the singles Welcome to the Jungle, Sweet Child of Mine, and Paradise City. The album has exceeded 28 million records sold, 18 million of which was the US, and is the best-selling debut album of all time. I don't know if you know Guns N' Roses. I'm assuming you've heard of Axl Rose and Guns N' Roses, but this was a big album when I would have been 13 at the time this album came out. So this was a huge album for people in my generation.
Oh, I've absolutely heard of Guns N' Roses. I've heard of the songs you listed.
Yeah.
And I had no idea they were from the same album, but that is actually incredibly impressive because those are 3 huge hits that have stood the test of time and are still played constantly. Yeah. So absolutely. From the same album, a debut nonetheless, very impressive stuff, I won't lie.
Yep. All right. So we're going to listen to Welcome to the Jungle by GNR, released on this day in 1987. Darren, let's hear it.
Welcome to the jungle. We got fun and games. We got everything you want. How do we know the names? We are the people that you...
All right. Welcome to the jungle. What are your plans for the rest of the week?
Well, I'm running my first ever 5K race tomorrow, so I'm very excited for that.
How's the training going for your 5K?
It's been good. It's been really good, actually. I started taking up running in the beginning of May, and it's been really good. Good progress. So I'm excited to test myself, really push myself tomorrow at the 5K. And then after that, I'm going with some friends, some of them who I'm actually doing the race with. After the race, we're going up to a cottage for the weekend. It's a bunch of friends that I have from my school program.
Nice.
So we're spending the weekend at a cottage, as well as my girlfriend Charlotte. She's coming too. And yeah, it should be a fun weekend.
Where's the cottage?
The cottage is it's like Rama area.
Oh, yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Is it on a lake or is it in the woods?
Yeah, it's on a lake. Yeah, it looks like a really nice cottage. So very excited for that. It'll be nice to unwind after the stress of the semester.
Sure. Do you know, I've been running a while. I spent a good couple of years running, and I found it very meditative running. It really helped me figure things out. I was going through a bit of a tough time around that time. But that's what running did for me. It really helped me with trying to figure things out on my mental health. Does it have that effect on you?
I think a bit, yeah. Mostly, I've noticed like the physical benefits already. Like I feel healthier now that I've been running 3 times a week. That's been nice. Like I just feel like a healthier, more fit person, and that's been really nice to see.
Well, let me give you this advice, because this is not advice I followed. At my height of running, I remember I did a 20K run without stopping, and I did it, and I can't remember what my time was. And I was really impressed, and I was really fit. I could do 5Ks and not be that puffed and all that kind of stuff. And I challenged myself to run 1,000 kilometers in a year, which I did. Afterwards, I was like, oh, I should probably give my body a bit of a break, So I took a couple of weeks. I was like, I'll take a couple of weeks off, and it's been 8 years.
Okay, so don't take a couple weeks off.
No, even if you want to give your body a bit of a break, like cut that down to maybe a run, like 1 or 2 runs a week. Don't stop, because it's awful.
Good to know. Yeah. I have the benefit of having a friend who is he's actually he's going to the cottage with me, doing the race with me, but he is he's run multiple marathons, and so he's been a very good support system for someone getting into running, bouncing questions off of and stuff, and asking him oh, it hurts here when I run, how do I stop that, and things like that. So it's been good to have a little bit of guidance through it too.
I really got into the science of running for a long time, and I started with a very heavily padded shoe, thinking that I needed padding, and eventually I went to a neutral shoe that almost had no padding whatsoever, and my injury stopped. I don't know if you know the science behind barefoot running and on how padded shoes actually hurt us more than help us. Have you ever read anything about that?
A little bit. I bought a new pair of shoes when I signed up for the race, and I decided I was going to take it seriously. So I did a little bit of research, but nothing crazy.
Well, the theory behind it is that with padded shoes, you can run in a way where you don't know you're hurting yourself because you don't feel the road. And with a neutral shoe or a very low padded shoe, because you can feel the road a lot better, you learn to adapt in a way that doesn't hurt yourself. And I was getting a lot of shin splints with the padded shoe. Because of that, I just was running in a way that I was hurting myself. And as soon as I switched to a neutral shoe, my shin splints went away. I had 0 injuries, and it was really interesting.
That is very interesting. Yeah. I'll have to consult the science when it comes time for me to buy a new pair.
Yeah, apparently Nike is responsible for all modern running injuries.
Damn Nike.
Yeah,
Ugh.
Damn them. So I was really into running when I did. So don't stop, just keep going. That's the best advice I can give you.
Okay, well, thank you for that. Thank you for that advice.
All right, let's get into our independent music this week. We're going to listen to a song from Hilz. It's called Scene. Now, she's a local Brisbane artist that reached out, and we're going to play her song. So I asked her for a soundbite, and this is what she said. Hilz has been described as fresh and modern take on pop with commanding powerhouse vocals, earwormy melodies, and searing tongue-in-cheek lyrics, all augmented by the infectious punk attitude and kick-ass stage presence. I actually wrote kiss-ass stage presence. I'm going to assume I meant kick-ass stage presence. That makes much more sense.
Much more sense, yeah.
Yeah. Taking inspiration from everyone from Kimbra to Paramore to Barbra Streisand, the Hilz experience will draw you in and make you an instant fan. So thank you very much, Hilz, for letting us play your song. And this is Scene. And we'll talk to you next week.
You believe I'm running to be seen. Let on confused, my only norm. You say one thing, yet don't conform. Compromise.
repeat back. You walk on eggshells and feel that you're trapped. To give my all, get you to the walk. It's funny how appealing's given half the talk. No text, no phone, it's like you're a ghost. Well, I'm still trying to keep this thing afloat. The rush of attention had harmless intentions. I'm left in the same place before I had entered. Led on, confused, my only norm. You say one thing, yet don't conform. Compromise, a word that you don't know. I ain't gon' sit around, 'cause guess what? I wrote this fucking song. You and me, we got nowhere to be. I see, but you believe I'm running to pieces. You and me, we got nowhere to be. I see, but you believe I'm running to
You've been listening to Just Hit Play. To contact your hosts, Peter and Nick, or to be featured on an episode as musical talent, email justhitplay7300@gmail.com. Keep up to date with news and announcements by following on Instagram and Facebook, linked in the show notes. Subscribe on your favourite podcatcher to tune in next week for more sonic delights. And if you can't wait till then, check out the Just Hit playlist on Spotify, linked in the show notes. A special thanks to Braden Munch for the theme song, and thank you for listening.